Here we go into the first and only match of the day for SCS 201. First off, for the Skyborne Rangers, we have the Cathedral, a Crusader with left side double Atten lens array, Mark II heavy flak, a Hwacha paired with Gatling and mortar. Their ally, the Square Boy, Judgment, Lumberjack Minotaur being the heavy weapons, paired with Mercury and a light flak. And for their opponents, Legio Lepidoptera Leviathan, we have the GFA Flying Flounder, Mobula, Hades Dual Artemis paired with light flak and Gatling, and their ally, the Bamboozle Moth, Lumberjack Dual Artemis with double check this time. This is a normal heavy carronade, close range only. So this is the new map that was just added in the latest patch. It's it's a very straightforward, or just a straight map, a straight line through the middle here. Only 1,500 meters worth of flyable space, and it's segmented up into these two sections. On the left of the screen, you have this big, rusted out ship mass, which has a lot of holes in it, opportunities for teams to sneak around, poke through, try to catch their enemies by surprise, and then also this more open area that still does have some terrain pieces, some pieces of hard cover that can be utilized, although more so for blue's spawn than red. And I think currently we do have a player who is having some difficulty loading in, so we'll have a short pause before the actual action starts. But because this is a very straightforward map, it's you see a lot of the teams in this game kitting out primarily for long-range play. A lot of Lumberjacks, Minotaurs, even the Cathedral bringing the dual Atten lens array on the left side. So teams, at least going into this first time, the first time this match is being played, this map, being played in a competitive match, teams are going to be trying to make full utilization of the very long sniping lanes that the map provides access to. And I will be curious, so because of that, I suspect we will see a little bit more play in this open side of the map. Because none of these teams really have these are also, in addition to being kitted out with long-range guns, these are all fairly slow ships. We don't have any squids or stormbreakers. They have also stormbreakers are used to seeing. One thing I should point out as well, the Hwacha Stormbreaker, it has been banned for today's tournament, and banned indefinitely until the time it is deemed to have received necessary balance changes from Muse. Stormbreaker, if you've been watching our recent SCS matches, we've been seeing a lot of Hwacha Stormbreakers on pretty much both sides, every team, at least teams who are seriously trying to win. Ship deemed too powerful for competitive play, and perhaps one of the reasons that we're seeing some of the teams experimenting with some different ships this week. Now, I believe the pause should be up here in just a moment, and we can see where the teams are going to try to set up their initial positions for the first fight. Player is still loading in. And team's gonna continue, despite the fact that the official pause has run out. Team's continuing a gentleman's pause here, waiting for, I believe it's Delorum, who is still loading in. And right off the back, my expectation, simply based on ship choices, would be that blue team does have a slight advantage. Crusader is a ship that I don't suspect is particularly strong in long-range play, simply because it is such a big, long target and does not have great movement vectors for dodging incoming fire in the way that a Mobula does. Mobula has that fast up-down vertical acceleration that allows it to kind of bob between incoming lumberjack shots, Artemis shots, that sort of thing. Crusader really does not. It's basically just a floating brick. So almost like, sort of like the Spire in a way, in that it just does not have a good profile and set of stats for dodging or surviving incoming long-range fire. So we'll see if that turns out to be the case and the Crusader ends up being a liability for the Skyborne Rangers. Now, looks like blue team has moved to the more open northern half of the map, utilizing the long sniper angles. Bamboozlemoth currently not narcs just yet, still recovering from the pause, while Mobula gets dual focused by red team. This already going sideways for Legio, Lepidoptera, Leviathan, as the Flying Flounder, 60% health gone on the first armor break. Now, Bamboozlemoth has fully engaged. Looks like first target going to be the square boy. Balloon is down. They're using drogue shoot, trying to stay in the air. Flying Flounder targeting them as well. The dual lens array from the Cathedral hitting the blue Mobula. But armor really not in risk of going down. They do. Flying Flounder does lose the balloon. Lumberjack shot of the square boy, while Bamboozlemoth continues to focus them in return. A lot of what dictates these fights is if those Artemis shots connect on the heavy weapons, and if in between volleys of Artemis, Lumberjack is able to squeak out a few shots, because height advantage is the advantage in these sorts of matches. And so it's going to be a lot of destroying Lumberjacks, a lot of rebuilding Lumberjacks, and who can do the best job suppressing their opponents. And currently Square Boy being forced back here, and blue is slowly inching into red side of the map. Cathedral has been forced downwards to take cover. I believe there's, yeah, a little bit of hard cover here for the Red Crusader. But this has allowed Legio Lepidoptera to get the dual focus on Square Boy. Lumberjack still blending down the balloon. Armor is down. Hades, Artemis shots picking away at the health. Square Boy gonna get one more armor rebuild here before they are able to find some hard cover to save them. To get in that repair cycle, Cathedral now has moved close here. I think they're maybe losing faith in their in their long range capability a little bit, so they've leapfrogged to this first piece of terrain available for blue team, which is kind of right around the center of the map. So as I said earlier, blue does have access to a little bit more hard terrain on this open side of the map, and Cathedral moving, and I suspect we'll see a hydrogen here. Just gonna double check. Yes, does Sunstrom, captain of the Cathedral, is using hydrogen, and he's moved into close range to try to utilize that Gat Mortar Hwacha side that he has access to. Now blue team is shifting their position, so if Cathedral wants to do something, he's gonna have to rise up here quick, or blue team's gonna slip out of their grasp. Cathedral now rising up, turning to close range side. Target for the Gatling going to be the Flying Flounder. Watch it as well. Takes down one engine. Flounder able to dodge a lot of that Hwacha barrage. And Bamboozlemoth turns towards the Cathedral, but Square Boy is over here somehow. Oh, Square Boy was killed and took a respawn, which I did not see. And now Cathedral taking damage from the Bamboozlemoth, but Mobula taken by surprise by that center map spawn, goes down very quickly, and we will be seeing a dual focus on Bamboozlemoth in just a moment. Now, being a new map, I do not know exactly where all the spawn points are, and I'm actually kind of surprised that there's a spawn point that far into the center map. But I suppose that might be one of the advantages that red team does have, since they do not have as much hard terrain on the north side as blue. Perhaps they get the advantage of having a more aggressive spawn point, as Bamboozlemoth being blended into the ground. Balloon currently up, armor not up. Watch a light flax, heavy flax coming out, doing a huge amount of damage to the bamboozle moth, and they rise into the rock and die. Thankfully, Flying Flounder not fully committed to this fight. They do have a little bit of time to back up here. No Stormbreakers this week, which means that if a fight ends, the fight ends. Teams actually have some time to reposition, which is something we have not really been used to. I think they hit this piece of terrain here. It might have just been a heavy flak. Regardless, gunfire on point from the Skyborne Rangers. And we'll see where the bamboozle moth decides to spawn. They're going to be forced to spawn in just a moment. As now red team has moved forward, taken some of this terrain that's on blue side of the map. You got some of these pipes that are sticking out of the wall. There are these little canyon outcroppings here as well. Square Boy taking a forward spectating position, observing position, trying to get some spots. Spots now going down for both teams as Cathedral rejoins their ally. First shot's going in on Square Boy, but once again, Flying Flounder engaging a little bit before their ally does. However, blue team does get a good dual focus, although red dual focusing the Flying Flounder as well, and we got a heavy flat connection, taking out half the Mobula's health. They have to back away. Bamboozle Moth moving forward to take a little bit more of the brunt of fire coming from the Skyborne Rangers. As Flying Flounder continues to have difficulty with their balloon. 80 shots going a little bit wide as the Flying Flounder repositions. Once again, red team's they're pushing forward a little bit. One thing that you sometimes see captains do is utilize forward and backward movement to throw off the shots, because a lot of these arcing weapons, like the Lumberjack, like the Hades, it's not just an issue of lining up the target. You also have to be able to gauge the target's distance and then adjust your angle, because it is an arcing weapon. It goes up and then comes back down on an arc, as the term arcing weapon which suggests. So by changing the distance between you and your target, you're forcing the enemy gunners to have to constantly be changing the angle and reevaluating the distance that you are at, which can help in dodging a lot of these shots. Even the small movements can be very helpful in just throwing off incoming Hades and Lumberjack fire. Now, currently, blue ships poking away at the Cathedral. Square Boy was forced back for a moment, and a repair cycle. And Lingerie focusing the Flying Flounder, forcing them downward. Gonna have to leave their ally for a moment. One thing... Ooh, Minotaur shot, making it hard for them to get behind cover. One thing about the Attenlenzer is that it's a very... typically regarded as a very low damage gun. It's a fire-piercing weapon that has a low damage per second. But the thing... Oh! Big heavy flak shot! Killing the Square Boy. One whole armor break. Taking him out. But one thing I was saying about the lens array, low damage, but it's very consistent damage. It's very easy to track a target with, and it has a high ammo count. It fires for a very long period of time, so for the ships that are a little bit more difficult to repair and gun simultaneously, like the Mobula, lens array can be pretty annoying. It racks up a lot of fire damage on the balloon, so if you miss a chem spray cycle, which we'll take a look here. We do have one chem spray 2 fire extinguishers. Captain bringing a fire extinguisher on the Flying Flounder. You miss a chem spray cycle, and Lenzere can suddenly become a big problem. Now, Square Boy taking a close spawn here, immediately targeting the Bamboozle Moth, while Cathedral sets the lasers on the Flying Flounder. We'll see Square Boy's balloon first to go down. Blue team switching dual focus to the Red Judgment. Drogue shoot, trying to stay in the air. Artemis shots, light flax, picking away at the Square Boy's health. 40% here. Both red ships heavily damaged. Flying Flounder taking damage as well. And down goes the Cathedral. These heavy flax making the kills very fast. The time from armor break to death has been extremely short in this match. And heavy flak is one of those weapons. Go down, another kill here. Legio Lepidoptera finally taking the lead. Or regaining their lead from the very beginning of the match. Heavy flak, one of those weapons that if it is, I believe, the highest, certainly the highest damage per shot, except maybe the mine launcher weapon in the game. So if you land those shots and you time it correctly, it's extremely powerful. The two downsides, I suppose, of the heavy flak. One is that if the target's armor is up, it does not do anything. It is totally useless. And then also the long travel time of the weapon. It's got a little bit of an arc to it, but the primary distinctive feature of the heavy flak projectile is so neither of these ships have heavy flaks. Well, must be light flak then. Just doing the big damage. Oh man. Well, regardless, everything I said about the heavy flak is true. I was just remembering the wrong judgment loadout. I believe the Square Boy is the one with the heavy flak. No, sorry, it's the Cathedral that has heavy flak. Whatever, all these ships have guns. And now it seems like teams moving to the enclosed area of the map, which we have not seen a fight take place on the southern side in this rusted out ship hull. This does give red team a little bit of a defensive advantage. But the problem being is that Legio Lepidoptera does have the point lead, so at some point, unless blue team goes in, red team is going to have to come out, because they can't simply camp out here. But they do have good angles on the Flying Flounder. Bamboozle Moth not in position to support, and Mobula does go down. I'm not sure why the Mobula decided, once both red ships appeared, to try to solo the enemy team. But this presents suddenly a bad situation as red team rising out of the central ship, and Bamboozle Moth is their target. I don't know, Bamboozle Moth, there's nowhere left to run. They bounce around, losing their gun arcs. Seems like they're going to try to run eastward. Try to get behind some of this north center terrain pieces. As the Mobula does spawn back in, taking center map position. And we do now have a fully even engagement. All ships currently at full health. Square Boy first to lose their armor. They're trying to duck down. There's a rib there to block some of the incoming fire, but a few shots do make it through. Balloon is down for the Square Boy at Lenzere, currently targeting the Flying Flounder as the Red Judgment, forced into a repair cycle like Lepidoptera, switches their focus to the Crusader. Crusader being forced behind terrain, behind the ship. And no permanent damage being done here. Just a little bit of what looks like one Artemis shot hitting unarmored hull on the Square Boy, but not much more. Now, 2 minutes left on the clock. Blue team got the first kill in the match. So in the event that the timer expires with the score being tied, Legio, Lepidoptera, Leviathan will win the match, which puts a little bit more pressure on red team to be the aggressor here. And already you see blue backing off, giving their opponents a little bit of space as the Skyborne Rangers collect themselves and start moving through the ship hull, ship mast, ship hulk, whatever you want to call it. And there's very low visibility into this terrain piece from the outside, so because red's unspotted, I'm sure Triple L expects them to be moving in this way, and which is probably why they're already backing up, so they can get a dual focus on one of these openings should red team appear. Already a spot going down on the Crusader, so their suspicions are confirmed. 2 sniping lanes onto Bamboozle Moth. Flying Flounder not yet in a position to support. Some Hades shots coming in, targeting the Cathedral, but they're a little too low for them to hit. I think Cathedral's... I thought they were going to maybe pop out the window there, but no, they're backing up, trying to bait one of the blue ships in. Because only the first ship that dies here will lose the match for their team. They only need to get 1 kill, and Flying Flounder already first armor break. Where's the explosive? Artemis shot and lens array slowly burning down their hull, but they get the armor up. No significant explosive damage connecting as Bamboozle Moss moves forward. Flounder losing hull armor again. Cathedral gonna lose armor next here. They're backing up. Armor's gonna burn down. They're rebuilding their balloon. Timer has expired. We now are in overtime. So as long as this engagement continues, there's an additional 3 minutes left on the clock for this engagement, this fight, to play out to its conclusion. Square Boy, Judgment here. Armor barely staying alive. Almost burning down. Their mallet hit coming in. Both red ships in a bad spot. Explosive damage coming in on the red Judgment. No rebuild just yet. There it is. Red team, again, just being pushed back by the long-range fire. They're having difficulty with these 2 slow ships getting into a position where they can fire in concert. And the Square Boy as well having a lot of difficulty maintaining their altitude, but Crusader moves forward, gets dual focused, and that's going to be the first game for Legio, Lepidoptera, Leviathan. They're going to potentially 4 more games here. 2 to 4 more games, so we'll see if the Skyborne Rangers can bring it back in game 2. Wow, my mic was muted, huh? That's great. I remember a time when I had chat that would tell me things like this. Now, there goes the narwhal. It was really great commentary too, if I'm being totally honest. Second point here probably for the Skyborne Rangers. I suspect we'll see Red Judgment taking the Candy Mountain spawn when the spawn timer is forced out. Balloon is down, Gatling tracers hitting the balloon, transferring to the hull. Stromsunder having a little bit difficulty dealing with the goldfish's low position. I wonder if Narwhal is going to try to escape here, as Bamboozlemoth does take the southernmost spawn. This is the farthest geographical distance from where the fight is taking place. And it looks like Narwhal gonna take their damaged ship and run. So they don't give up a second point to Skyborne Rangers, but this does mean the goldfish gonna be very heavily damaged going to the next fight, and that is a problem for a ship with such low armor. It's a low armor, high health ship, so when the health is already mostly gone, it reduces the utility of the goldfish significantly. Stromsunder being forced up, trying to dodge the incoming Hwacha. The Narwhal switches focus to the Square Boy. Here comes Gatling, Bamboozlemoth, Lumberjack, and dual Gats targeting the Square Boy. Armor is down. Explosive damage coming in. Some Hwacha connecting. 60% health gone on the Square Boy as the Stromsunder blends down the Bamboozlemoth's balloon. But unfortunately, without the Hwacha, they just don't have the quick disable capability that they need to take Bamboozlemoth out of the fight. Heavy Carronade is more of a slower control-based weapon where a Hwacha just will take a target out of the fight immediately. Heavy Carronade requires you to take out the balloon and then keep the balloon suppressed as your target slowly drifts down to the bottom of the map, down out of the fight. Stromsunder moving up to contest the goldfish while the two judgments duel it out. Here come mortars hitting the Square Boy. Next armor break will be death for them. So they're barely able to squeak by the underside of the arch, but I think that's going to be it. Hwacha taking them out. And Stromsunder took a bad Hwacha barrage. They're totally disabled. We'll see how fast the Bamboozlemoth is able to mobilize here. Maybe get their Lumberjack into effect. Try to remove the mobility of the Blue Stormbreaker. Square Boy does spawn in. And now Blue has set up almost a pincer style attack here with Stromsunder leading Red away from their spawn point. Square Boy spawning behind. Looks like Minotaur targeting the Narwhal, Lumberjack targeting the Bamboozlemoth. Red Judgment's balloon is down. Long range Hwacha barrage coming up from the Narwhal, not going to do a whole lot. Stromsunder switching focus to the Bamboozlemoth with their Gatling. Lumberjack shots from the Square Boy going wide. Stromsunder now rising up, switching focus to the Narwhal. Heavy Carronade coming out, looks like targeting the front gun, but not able to disable it. Second shot going into the balloon. Both these red ships having a lot of difficulty maintaining their vertical position. And I think Square Boy gonna maybe try to start inching forward here, because these long range shots through the clouds, there at some point their accuracy is going to be hurting. So I'm waiting for the Square Boy to reposition a little bit. As you see a lot of those Lumberjack shots going wide as the Narwhal decks forward and backwards. Both judgments here are not really contributing a whole lot to this fight. Stromsunder is just kind of having their way with the Narwhal, picking away its armor, still heavily damaged from the last fight. So at this point, it will not take much to take out the red goldfish. Bamboozlemoth able to reignite their guns. taking a look here. Looks like it's Lesmont Gatling. A little extra range for the Red Judgment. While Square Boy maintains their very long range position. I would think they would try to move forward a little bit just to take some of the fire off their ally, because Square Boy is still at full health. Stormsunder pretty heavily damaged. Stormbreaker, both the Stormbreaker and the Goldfish are in a position where if they lose their armor, they could easily die in one Hwacha clip or half a mortar clip. 2 mortar shots will finish off this Goldfish at this point. Now, as the Narwhal pushes into Blue's territory, losing their balloon in the process, but it is given an opening for Bamboozle Moth to target the Square Boy. Armor goes down, balloon is down, Hwacha coming out. Mortar is a little bit late. Here's the next Gatling barrage. Stormsunder has refocused, taken down the balloon of the Bamboozle Moth. Mortars come out, but they're not able to get the last shots off as they lose altitude from their balloon. Good damage to the Square Boy, though. 70% health erased in that mortar barrage. As blue team dual focus the Narwhal, and this might be it for the Red Goldfish. I don't know if Bamboozle Moth, Square Boy, fully rebuilt armor, not going to be able to kill the Judgment fast enough. We'll see. Narwhal trying to stay alive. Armor's going to go down. No, both blue ships forced to recontest the Bamboozle Moth, and they do. They are able to take down the Blue Judgment. Bamboozle Moth buying enough time for their ally so the Goldfish doesn't die. And now Narwhal gets a great Hwacha connection on the Stormsunder. No engine. Stormbreaker dead in the water. Nice little subtle move there. Flying, rising over the Goldfish as they try to go for ram, but does allow Narwhal to get off a few light carronade shots. And the only reason they're still alive here is because the Bamboozle Moth was very low to the bottom of the ground and had a highly damaged balloon. So Stormsunder, Stormbreaker is not a thing. Stormbreaker able to squeak away long enough for their ally to respawn. Heavy carronade shots. Looks like going into the Narwhal, not taking down the balloon. Bamboozle Moth's balloon goes down, is rebuilt. Both the red ships pushing forward. Seemed like we might have Legio, Lepidoptera, Leviathan going for a dual focus on the Square Boy. Gatling's just not quite in range. Turning now their Hwacha to the Stormbreaker. Takes down their armor, takes down about 15% more health. Stormbreaker very close to death at this point, as Narwhal switches to their left side light carronade. Lumberjack shot, Square Boy helping their ally, takes on the armor and the balloon. Mercury shot, not the explosive damage they were looking for necessarily, as Narwhal does survive the first volley. And I think Stormsunder are going to be switching their focus to the Bamboozle Moth, which they've been ignoring up until now. Where's the... we need one mortar shot to hit this Stormbreaker to kill it. Next armor break, are we... No explosive? Okay, there it is. Stormsunder is down. Square Boy turning around to test the enemy judgment, but not fast enough, as the Narwhal has flown back in here to help with the balloon disable, using that light carronade. Hwacha coming out. Square Boy fully disabled. Armor surely not gonna last for long. Mortars coming out. The DPS able to finish off the Blue Judgment and put Lepidoptera Leviathan on match point. Narwhal doing a great job preserving the little health they had left. They came out of that last fight with 30% perma, which is a tough position to be in as a Goldfish, being kind of a low armor target that's also has a very long profile. It's easy to hit with the Gatling. And so they've been picking their spots very well, knowing when, okay, this is safe for me to go in because the ships are either focusing my ally or turned the wrong way. When they're able to commit. Now, blue team spawning in, taking the south spawn of the map. I I do wonder if we're going to see a resurgence of other Hwacha-based builds. That was a theory. There's a little bit of debate in the SCS Discord on whether the problem was Stormbreaker, whether the problem was Hwacha. I'm of the opinion that both the ship and the gun deserve to be tuned down a little bit. Some people were defending the Hwacha a little bit more. But right now, we're seeing it work out great for Triple L on this Goldfish. So, assuming that the Stormbreaker either remains banned or gets nerfed into non-viability in the near future, I do expect us to see more Hwacha-based build, be it they Goldfish or Shrikes or even Judgments. It's just such a powerful weapon that can totally just remove an enemy ship from the fight in 2 seconds. One volley, really all it takes. As now blue team, for some reason, seems like they're moving to red spawn. Unspotted here. Clouds bailing their movement. So it seems like red team perhaps going to be a little bit in the dark. Now, the problem with this type of strategy is that they are burning a lot of time. It's 4-1 in the enemy team's favor. Only 6 minutes left on the clock. So any sort of a strategy that relies on putting your opponent in the dark for a long period of time when you're at a point disadvantage, it's very risky, because time is one of your resources when you are on the losing end of a game of Guns of Icarus, competitive Guns of Icarus at least, where the timer is. So red team, a little fed up with waiting in their spawn, has moved. Looks like they're going to take the southern pass behind the mountain range. Goldfish at least doing a little bit of scouting as blue team moves back towards center map. You can see here the clouds make it very difficult to get spots from this position. And it seems like we're going to have a fight take place. This is one of the most common engagement areas of this map, is this southmost spawn point. Although typically the positions are reversed, because this is Lepidoptera currently camped out in blue's spawn point. So we'll see how Skyborne Rangers decide to approach this match, starting off with some lumberjack shots through the hole in the terrain. Strom Sunder sneaking around. They want to engage the Narwhal when they can, as their ally gets them a spot. Gatling coming out. Narwhal going to die very quickly here. This could easily snowball in the favor of Skyborne Rangers as the Goldfish is not careful. Armor is down, but they just are barely able to squeak behind the terrain as Square Boy splitting their fire between the two red ships. Balloon is down to Narwhal. I think that's going to be it for the red Goldfish, is now Bamboozle Moth left all alone. And this is problematic because this is blue's spawn point, so no way Goldfish is going to be able to get back into this fight unless we see an incredible tanking play from Bamboozle Moth, and I don't think that's going to be it, as they just run aground. Give a second point to the Skyborne Rangers. Blue team closing up the point discrepancy. Perhaps not a great positioning decision from Triple L for that fight. And we'll see where they decide to spawn, because that was a great fight. That was a flawless fight from the Skyborne Rangers, but they still are losing here. They still are. The Triple L does have the point advantage, so the Skyborne Rangers are going to have to make something happen, and make something happen pretty quickly here with 3 minutes left on the clock ticking down. Romsunder moves forward, tries to get spots. No spots, but I'm sure they have visibility of the red ships. Goldfish peeking out from the terrain. As the Narwhal moves forward, Square Boy's position will be unknown to red. So we might be seeing some lumberjack shots coming out of nowhere, though. First two shots missing the Bamboozle Moth. Not going to take down the balloon in the first volley as Narwhal moves forward to target the Strom Sunder. Balloon is down. They're being forced back. The Square Boy moving forward. Both Judgments. No, not both Judgments. Just the Bamboozle Moth's balloon is low. Square Boy's balloon is fine. And Narwhal, I think, next Watcher Barrage, going to go into the Square Boy. Strom Sunder forced to duck down to dodge some of the fire. And now going to rise back up to support their ally. But not before the Square Boy loses most of their guns to the Hwacha. Square Boy's balloon does go down. Red team really wants this dual focus on the Blue Judgment. I think they're going to get it. I don't think Strom Sunder is going to be able to dissuade their enemy targets long enough for the Square Boy to survive. Hwacha coming out. Mortars, no real mortar connections here. Next armor break, though, may do it for the Square Boy. Gatling coming out. Strom Sunder targeting the Bamboozle Moth, trying to say, hey, stop shooting my ally. Square. Both Judgments losing their armor. But Hwacha totally whiffs as the Square Boy just barely gets their balloon up, able to rise, dodge that incoming fire. Bamboozle Moth now switching their focus to Strom Sunder for a moment. And now suddenly the tides have turned in the Judgment duel. And now evening out. Square Boy still has several guns down, and the Gatling not going to be able to take down the Judgment armor on the first clip. But they have to be careful. I think Narwhal is trying to break themselves away from the Stormbreaker so they can help kill the Square Boy as the Blue Judgment's balloon is burning. Bamboozle Moth trying to get some lumberjack shots out. Not super effective here. And Square Boy has bought themselves a moment of reprieve. How long will they last? Lumberjack shots finally armed, taking down the Square Boy's balloon. Here comes the Gatling. This will be an armor break for the team, and they are able to get the final Hwacha connection, meaning a second game in the favor of the Lepidoptera Leviathan. As we set up our next game, which will be on Keratin Rumble. Going into the third and potentially last game of our best of three set between Lepidoptera, God, Skyborne Rangers and the Lepidoptera Leviathan. First off, for the Triple L team, we see the return of the GFA Narwhal Hwacha Goldfish with left side Light Carronade, right side Gatling. Their allied Fluffy Moth, Magnate, left side Gatling Mine Launcher Hwacha with the right side Artemis Mine Launcher Hwacha. For their opponents, Skyborne Rangers, we have the Victor, Gatling Mortar, Pyramidion, Light Flak, and Flare Gun. And their ally, another Pyramidion, Light Carronade Artemis, Light Flak, Flare Gun. Dual Pyramidion, not something you see a whole lot in any time since 2013, really. As the teams maybe... You know, I would think maybe the idea here with the Stormbreaker not being super great, with the Stormbreaker Hwacha being banned from today's tournament, that, oh, the Hwacha is gone, now we'll bring a Pyramidion, but both these red ships do still have Hwachas. Because that was one of the issues that kept the Pyramidion, basically had the Pyramidion in a place of complete non-viability these past few months since the Stormbreaker has been introduced, is that Pyramidion is a slow, close mobility ship with a very big exposed hull hitbox. So Stormbreaker, just with its sheer number of guns, sheer damage output, and kill the Pyramidion is probably the easiest ship in the entire game for a Stormbreaker to kill. You just strafe behind and then one volley, unload all your explosive damage, and they're done. It's game over. So with the Stormbreaker out of the fight, Skyborne Rangers maybe taking the opportunity to test the waters, test the skies for the Pyramidion in this match, but they are still dealing with 3 Hwachas between the 2 red ships, so still not gonna be an easy match as Victor does get a spot both red ships. Blue team split up a bit, not going to be going for a two-pronged attack, instead Drunk Refuge rejoining their ally and moving in. Light Carronade Artemis on the Drunk Refuge, going to be pretty good against both these ships. Both the red ships have very large exposed balloons, as well as a heavy reliance on heavy weapons, especially the narwhal. This Pyramidion, the carrot, as some people call it, but I generally refuse to, was initially brought as a counter to the Watcha Goldfish back in 2015, 2016. It was a pretty common build back when the Goldfish was more popular. Now, blue team, both Pyramidions, currently focusing the Fluffy Moth, Gatling, impact bumpers on the Fluffy Moth being active for some reason. Is that side light flak from the Victor? Taking down the Magnate as Narwhal moves in a little too late to the party. Drunk Refuge starting to blend down their balloon. I don't think going to get it on the first volley. Watches still up. Yep, still up. Artemis did not take it down. They get it out. They get out a few shots before the Gatling finally disables it. And so far, Narwhal hasn't taken too much damage, but they might have a little bit of difficulty escaping through the terrain, getting stuck on the crane, mortars coming in, able to finish off the Narwhal. I'm going to take a look here. Yes, those are left side light flaks that did kill that Magnate. I'm fairly certain. And a clean 2-0 for the Skyborne Rangers. And this is potentially a pretty good map for Pyramidions as well, just because it's a very tight, close quarters map with a lot of narrow corridors, random terrain, and stuff to hit against. So the Pyramidion having a pretty compact hull profile. I mean, it's large, but there are no random extrusions like the Goldfish has on the back to catch on stuff. So Pyramidion is a ship that can move through Peryton Rumble very quickly, very easily. As now Pyramidions once again dual focusing the Fluffy Moth. Narwhal moving in, unable to stop the Pyramidions. They're instead trying to running by to take the bullet, but they don't actually take any of the shots. Instead, getting the rear of the Victor as their ally goes down, just unable. Narwhal totally powerless to stop the onslaught of these two Pyramidions running through their ally. And now in a position where they have to once again disengage. They do get a full Watcha barrage off, but unable to disable any weapons. They're going to have to turn tail and run here if they want any opportunity. Oh, main engine's down. GG. Drunk Refuge moving in. Balloon half health. Going for the ram here. Taking down the other half of the balloon. Goldfish, I don't think going to be able to survive because they're getting pushed farther to the bottom of the map. Victor, DPS, able to finish them off. And now, 6 minutes into the game, Team Pyramidion already on match point. Now remember, this is a best of 5 set. Legio Lepidoptera currently has a 2-game advantage. So if the Skyborne Rangers want to win this game, they're going to have to win 3 games in a row. Not just this one on Peryton Rumble, and we'll see where Triple L decides to spawn. Blue team camping out their side of the map. They're going to take west spawn, the red team is. An already fast spot from Drunk Refuge. Artemis shots coming in, taking down the right side mine launcher. Narwhal needs to do a better job protecting their ally, preventing the dual focus. They need a Watcha connection, but they're just... well, there's... okay, Victor loses their mortar. They still have the Gatling going for a ram. Fluffy Moth using impact bumpers to try to reduce some of the impact damage. I suppose if there's one team that you bring impact bumpers against, it's dual Pyramidion. As Victor, first armor break, I think, for blue team. Not enough. Magnate still goes down 5-0. Magnate probably not a great choice against a dual Pyramidion team, just because Magnate is one of the few ships that a Pyramidion can reliably outmaneuver. So we'll see if they can bring this back in this best of 5 set. 4th game of our best of 5 set between Skyborne Rangers and Legio Lepidoptera Leviathan. First off for the Drunk Refuge. Pyramidion looks like light carronade and Artemis with left side light flak and flare gun. Their ally, the Victor, Gatling mortar, Pyramidion with light flak and flare gun. On the left side, looks like Skyborne Rangers bringing the same builds they did on Periton. Now, on the Triple L side, we have the Fairy Moth, Gatling Banshee Squid, light carronade in the rear, and their ally, the GFA Flying Flounder, Hades Artemis, light flak with a second Artemis and a Gatling. Now, this is the true 2015 metagame that's happening here, as we now Lepidoptera, having lost the last game, getting trounced by the dual Pyramidians, they bring off the Gat Banshee Squid. Now, if you've been following SCS for a few years, you'll recall that this is a build that Mighty Keb in particular was very favorable of, and ran it to great success back when Pyramidians were popular, because the Squid is just able to outmaneuver the Pyramidians so easily, and the Banshee does enough damage. The Pyramidian is not so tanky that the Banshee is unable to finish them off. So it has been used pretty effectively by certain Squid specialists in the past. We'll see how Mirwin does here, captaining the Squid, as we get a little bit of preliminary fire out from the Flying Flounder. I'll be curious to see how this goes on a more open map, because Periton Rumble, being that it has a lot of very high terrain that the Pyramidians can kind of sneak around in, Water Hazard, much more open, it's going to give the Flying Flounder a lot more space to utilize their long-range weapons, which is one of the Pyramidians' biggest weaknesses, is that it's just not strong at range. It's a close-range brawling style of ship, regardless of what weapons it brings. So Red Team, neither of these ships wants to get caught out in the open, because Flying Flounder, if they're able to capitalize with the Hades Dual Artemis or Hades Artemis Light Flak, they will kill one of these Pyramidians very quickly. Now, Flounder, they were moving forward a bit towards Red Team's position, perhaps just itching to get a good angle, but that has exposed them now to a charge from the Victor, and Drunk Refuge coming as well. Fairy Moth in tow, targeting the Victor's hull armor. Flying Flounder tries to shoot vent down, but Victor catches them, knocks out the hull armor. Rest of the shoot vent does come into effect, so they're able to dodge the incoming mortar shots. Balloon making this a little bit tricky. Not quite getting the exact position they want to, but Fairy Moth still in position, forcing Drunk Refuge to focus on them. Victor losing their armor to the dual Gatling light flaks coming out. Most of the Victor's armor's hull is gone, but so is the Flying Flounder. One mortar shot will finish off the Mobula. Who's going to get the next armor break? I think Fairy Moth going to be able to come in to assist her ally before the Drunk Refuge does. There's the Squid's Gatling. Gatling from the Victor hitting the Flying Flounder as well. A whole explosive hit will finish the game, and it comes from the Victor. Mortar finishing them off, and now Fairy Moth, Balloon very low, going to make it difficult for the Squid to escape. Typically, you think of the Squid as being able to outmaneuver the Pyramidian, which in fact, they actually, as I say that, they're able to sneak on behind. But the damage Balloon, going to make it a little bit tricky. Seems like they are, with that little slide there, that they're able to execute. They will be able to eventually escape, build up their balloon health enough to fly away. We'll see. There could be some good Artemis shots from the Drunk Refuge. If they're able to take down the Squid's engines, there's a possibility they don't get away. The Gatling finishing them off. Light flaks coming out from the sides of the Pyramidian. Armor rebuilt fast enough. Flying Flounder spawned back in, while the Pyramidians are still chasing the Squid around the terrain. And it looks like first target for the Flying Flounder is the Drunk Refuge, as Victor goes for a ram on the Flying Flounder. Not the Flying Flounder, the Squid, the Fairy Moth finishes them off, I think, with the mortar. I don't think they actually hit the Squid with the front of their ship, but it would have been really cool if they did. Flying Flounder just unable to focus the right target. You saw most of that fire, most of their targeted shots were going into the Drunk Refuge, which was not really contributing a lot of damage to the Fairy Moth. Victor was the one who inevitably killed them. So Blue Mobula going to be forced to back away. We do finally have a full disengagement for both teams. Although Victor is pushing forward very aggressively. Gatling already engaging on the Flying Flounder along with the Drunk Refuge. Light Carronades not in the arc. Refuge switching focus to the Fairy Moth. Fairy Moth's balloon is low. Doesn't go down the first Light Carronade clip, but next shot will finish the Moth. Victor's still very heavily damaged, so if they lose their balloon, they're going to go down, and they do. Fairy Moth's balloon finally going down, but I think perhaps too late. Are they going to be able to ram this squid? No. Fairy Moth able to dodge out of the way, and that's probably going to be it for Drunk Refuge. I suspect this will be a second point for Legio, Lepidoptera, Leviathan with the concerted focus from the Flying Flounder. Refuge, in this instance, on the previous map, worked very well against the Magnate and the Goldfish, but here on Water Hazard, we're seeing that the Fairy Moth is able to much more easily outmaneuver the gun arcs of the Pyramidion. They also have a lot more open air to work with, which is certainly helpful in evading those arcs. The Drunk Refuge is just not only unable to do enough damage to kill the squid, but unable to do enough damage to even stop them, to even take them out of the fight for a moment. Perhaps what I would like to see, if I'm coming up with the game plan, if I'm doing a John Madden, drawing the little squares and lines, and I don't know what the football guys do, but I suspect it's a lot of drawn stuff. I would draw two Pyramidions, I would draw a Mobula, and I'd draw an arrow going from each Pyramidion to that Mobula. I think if Skyborne Rangers simply ignored the Fairy Moth and just went for a dual focus on the Mobula in every engagement, that they would be doing perhaps a little bit better than they have been. Because they haven't... Drunk Refuge has been trying to deal with the squid, and they haven't been able to, so why bother? Why not just help kill this Flying Flounder? And it seems like that might be what they're doing here, as both the red ships charging down on the blue Mobula, using Shoot Vent, the Flying Flounder is, to duck down. I stay underneath the Victor's gun arcs. Fairy Moth almost able to take down the Pyramidian's whole armor, with Flying Flounder refocusing as well. Flounder's balloon is down, their armor is down, Light Flax Artemis coming out, Light Flax from the Victor, able to finish off the blue Mobula, and there's that dual Pyramidian, dual focus. They're just able, it was just effectively a frontal, they spawned in, they charged directly at the Mobula, and were able to kill them. So you see that strategy can work. If your opponent has a ship with a low damage output like a squid, it just isn't able to do enough damage in a short period of time to protect their ally. So Fairy Moth just like, well, I guess I'm gonna run. Mobula has spawned back in. Now split positioning from Triple L. Pyramidian's already running for the Flying Flounder. And you see Drunk Refuge still, even at half health, they're basically ignoring the Fairy Moth. They're just doing what they can. They've lost, it seems like, a side engine, which is making the charge a little bit more difficult. And Victor having trouble keeping up with the vertical mobility of the Mobula. Fairy Moth very close to killing the Drunk Refuge with that Banshee clip. Pyramidians need to get their engines into gear here, close the distance a little bit more quickly, as the Drunk Refuge does go down. Flying Flounder, I think, going to be able to escape here. Victor moonshining backwards, trying desperately to keep their guns in arc. I'm going to check really quick. We do not have any gunners on the Pyramidion, which is your non-gunner crew is pretty standard for Pyra, but it means they don't get any improved arcs from stamina. And Flying Flounder just kind of dancing around them, using their vertical acceleration. So Pyramidion unable to keep up. Fairy Moth rejoins the Flounder. We have a true dual focus here on the Victor. And they're doing a good job staying alive. They're trying to do whatever damage they can, but I don't think they're going to be able to get any armor breaks. And Victor does go down. Match point for Lepidoptera Leviathan, as the Drunk Refuge has already spawned back in and is moving to the forward spawn point for Red Team. I think the issue with that charge is they just did not, Pyramids did not move fast enough there. I'm not sure if it was just the mobula was too low, so they weren't able, so if they charged at full speed, they would be losing their gun arcs too quickly. Maybe initiating the fight too high up. That is one of the issues with some of these ships with slower vertical acceleration is, you know, normally the normal train of thought is that that height advantage is an advantage. So the higher you are, most of the guns shoot down better than they shoot up. Like, for example, the Artemis and the Mortar, which the explosive weapons on these red ships respectively. However, on a map that has a high flight ceiling like Water Hazard, if your opponent takes a low position, you're gonna, if it's low enough, it's going to be very difficult to shoot them, and it's going to take you, if your strategy relies on very fast initiations to fight, a charging style of play, any sort of delay in your ability to unload your DPS on a target is going to be a big problem. So sometimes it's just better to come in at more of a medium altitude than coming at the flight ceiling. Now, both the red ships have turned to focus the Flying Flounder. They are in red spawn point, although it doesn't matter because Lepidoptera is on match point, so there's not going to be any more red spawns. Drunk Refuge focusing the Fairy Moth, while the Victor goes for the Flying Flounder. Balloons down on both the blue ships. Flying Flounder trying to duck below the gun arcs of the Victor, unable to do so. No mortars coming out from the Victor. And now dual focus on the red Pyramidian, dual Gats. Fairy Moth coming in to assist. Good target switching from the Squid. Victor being forced into a repair cycle, meaning a Flying Flounder is let out of their cage and can refocus on whoever they want. But now both red ships, both Pyramidians hitting the Fairy Moth. That's one of the issues with the Squid, is if you're caught out of position, you have to always be on the move. If you're caught out of position, you get dual focused for 1 second, you will die. And now Flying Flounder is gonna have to pull out the aerialist within them. They're gonna have to pull out all the stops as they're able to stay alive here. Drunk Refuge going for the ram, losing their armor instead. Ducking down is the Flying Flounder, but Victor lying in wait, and this is not a good position for the Flying Flounder. I think you guys know what's gonna happen here, as the Flying Flounder gets smashed by the Victor. They move in, they get the 5th point, and that means we're going into a 5th and final game for our best of 5 set. It's all tied up here at SCS 201. Here we go, game 5. Lepidoptera start off with a 2-0 lead in our best of 5 set, but Skyborne Rangers not going to go down without a fight. First off for Red Team, we have the Square Boy, Judgment, Lumberjack, Minotaur, Hades, and Light Flak. Their ally, the Victor Strom, Lumberjack, Minotaur, Hades, and Light Flak. Their opponents, Lepidoptera Leviathan, bringing the Bamboozle Moth, Lumberjack, Heavy Carronade, and Dual Artemis. And their ally, the GFA Flying Flounder, Mercury, Dual Artemis, Gatling, and Light Flak. So Skyborne Rangers bringing mirrored Judgment builds, deciding that this is, both teams deciding that this is the map where we are going to bring out the long-range firepower. We saw a little bit in our first game on Derelict. But Clash at Blackcliff is one of the strongest long-range maps in the current SCS map pool, so you can get a lot of utilization out of those Lumberjacks. Flying Flounder looks like going to be the first armor break of the initiation of the fight. Some armor shots connecting. About half the Flying Flounder's health is gone. Balloon's still down as well as Bamboozle Moth moves forward to try to take a little bit of pressure off of their ally. Lumberjack and the Victor Strom is down. Now, one thing to note is Red Team has a little bit of sheer firepower advantage because they do have the dual judgments and they do have dual light flaks. But Red, I'm just gonna oh wow, there's a rear gun on the judgment. I don't think I have ever mentioned the rear gun in a single doing a single ship loadout in the entire 4 months or whatever it's been in the game. I was not even aware there was a gun back there. But what I was going to say, Red Team bringing 0 Artemis, so Blue theoretically going to have more of a better disable capability because both the Flying Flounder and the Bamboozle Moth are packing dual arts. They have more gun disable, but the Red Team has access to the Minotaurs. And I guess we'll take a closer look at Blue to see how well the knockback effect of the Minotaur is coming into play, because I'm really not seeing these ships being bounced around too much. There's a good connection on the Flying Flounder, forcing them away. But in forcing them away, it also forces them behind hard cover, so there's no real follow-up damage from the Skyborne Rangers. Bamboozle Moth's balloon is down. So far, a slow burn on this fight. The team's kind of feeling each other out. Confident in their long-range capabilities. Like Lepidoptera did win that first game on Derelicts. Although, how much one could attribute that to the selection of the Crusader by Red Team. Goodbye, Mobula. Slightly out of position. They fall onto the whatever this is. Oil thing. And now with the ship down, Red Team has decided to pursue aggressively towards the Bamboozle Moth's position. This will be a tough escape for the Blue Judgment as the balloon is now down. They're not going to be able to rise over this clip. They're going to bump. They might be able to with the momentum when they hit it. Are they? Okay, just barely able to squeak over. And, okay, maybe not that difficult of an escape. They don't take too much damage. Balloon goes down again. Flying Flounder has spawned back in. And this is a little unfortunate because Bamboozle Moth not in any position to support their ally. This could already be a very fast kill. They bump the terrain, takes 95% of their hull, and then suddenly they're dead again. Not a great selection of spawn from the Blue Mobula. Just that is as free as points come. They just gave away to their opponents. That's rough beats. Now, at least the Bamboozle Moth is safe. But they do have this very low position. If Red Team decides to move in close, Bamboozle Moth could start using that heavy carronade. Which is something. Now, we're going to start off with some Lumberjack shots. Flying Flounder supporting their ally as well. This is the spawn they should have taken previously. As we get dual focus on both the Bamboozle Moth and the Victor Strom. Strom loses their armor first. Balloon down as well. They're going to fall behind terrain with the downed balloon. So not a more damage than that. Bamboozle Moth loses their balloon. Flying Flounder moving up to try to contest the Square Boy. I guess they want to use their Gatling gun to target the Judgment. But Skyborne Rangers making good usage of this terrain piece on Blue's side of the map. So it's been very difficult for Blue to deal any sort of follow-up damage when they get those armor breaks. There's another one, but you see they're going to duck down. And then the mountain blocks all the follow-up shots, so they can safely rebuild the armor, rebuild their balloon. And then once they're ready to go, pop back out, let loose another volley. And Flying Flounder is still there trying to move forward a little bit just so they can maintain angles past the terrain piece. But it's difficult, especially with the Lumberjack shots coming out. Now, in the current position, Blue Team does both have the height advantage, and their Artemis have been doing a good job keeping the enemy's Lumberjacks suppressed. They're doing much better in this more clear clear air fight. In the center map fight, they were dealing with a lot of cloud cover and terrain that was in the way, which was making it more difficult to land those Artemis shots on precise weapons, which is what you want to be doing. Is Artemis's primary goal here is going to be keeping the Lumberjack and, to a lesser extent, the Minotaur suppressed on their targets. And if they can do that, if they can keep the heavy weapons destroyed, that's an advantage that Lepidoptera can definitely capitalize on. They're doing a good job of it here. And as a result, the Bamboozle Moth with their one Lumberjack is currently outperforming the two Lumberjacks of Red Team, just because Red's having to deal with a quad Artemis. Now, Square Boy and Victor Stromstrom have managed to, well, for a moment, put a bit of dual focus onto Flying Flounder, pushing them away, figuratively and literally, with the Minotaur, forcing the Bamboozle Moth to take this forward position, finally using that heavy carronade. Balloon on the Square Boy is down, Flying Flounder's balloon down as well, which will theoretically help them keep their Mercury in arc against the Square Boy for more follow-up damage. Square Boy going to have a difficulty here. Their position here, they're not going to be able to easily use the terrain, so this could be an opportunity for Blue Team to push for a kill as Red's being rooted out from their hiding spot. Heavy Carronade keeping the Stromstrom disabled. This is the chance. This Square Boy totally on their own. Stromstrom cannot do anything about it. Are we going to see the first kill for Blue Team? There it goes. Mercury takes down the armor. Light Flax, or not Light Flax, Artemis coming in. 60% whole health gone on the Square Boy. But Blue Team unable to capitalize quickly enough to get a kill. Red Team still having a lot of difficulty. Heavy Carronade coming into great effect here as they do take down the Victor Stromstrom. And probably a second point here for Square Boy since they are caught on the enemy side of the map. So, yeah, definitely not going to be able to go away. They're just running forward. They want to get it over with. That's a second point for Lepidoptera Leviathan. That's definitely the type of fight that they want. I think the open skies, clear skies type of battle is going to work out much more in their favor than trying to land Artemis disables on through these roaming clouds. And I'll be curious to see if Skyborne Rangers decide to spawn on the west side or the east side. Currently seems like Blue Team is moving towards the east side, which is where the Red Judgments do spawn. And this may be a repeat of that first fight we saw earlier with teams just cross-firing through center map. Before the storm. First spot going down on Victor Stromstrom. Bamboozle Moth as well. Clouds. What's cloud status? Here's the next point. We'll see if Lepidoptera decide to push forward past the cloud line so they can maintain those clear line of visions. As Red forced to hide behind the terrain. They're going to wait for the right opportunity to expose their heavy weapons. And it seems like Lepidoptera content to maintain the center map position. So not quite a complete repeat of that first fight. They are pushing forward a little bit. And they have a little bit of terrain that they can utilize. Mopula, you see they're holding next to this big square thing, which they are now flying past, so whatever I was about to say is now irrelevant. But the Mopula is one of the ships that can effectively use that for terrain cover if they need to. Seems like Skyborne Rangers are calling for a pause. So perhaps we have a... Yeah, it looks like White Toilet Demon on the Victor Stromstrom has disconnected. Which effectively going to be no difference between from now and the last few minutes, because teams so far were pretty content to hold the positions that they had. The blue team moving forward a little bit. It's possible that Bamboozlemoth wants to get another mid to close range engagement so they can utilize that heavy carronade, because the heavy carronade was the champion of that last fight. They kept the Skyborne Rangers totally suppressed, got so many balloon disables, and you get the lumberjack, get into arming time with the lumberjack, and it's effectively a useless weapon. So altitude advantage, very important on these judgments, because it is a junker or galleon style of ship where the guns are very low down. They're very far below the balloon. So so they don't shoot up as well as some of the other ships do, like a Mobula might. $30 seconds left for the pause. And I think this could be the first SCS win for like a Lepidoptera Leviathan in 2018, if they're able to clutch out this game. Certainly possible here. We've had a few second place finishes from Triple L the past couple weeks. If I can quickly... Yeah, SCS 199, 198, 2 second place finishes from Triple L. That was last month. And also, teams are going, it looks like, extending the pause here. The Legio Lepidoptera Leviathan giving their pause to the enemy team to allow them ample time for their lost comrade to reconnect to the game. I could pretend I'm a sports commentator. Oh, that's the type of sportsmanship that just makes you love the game of Guns of Icarus. You can tell these teams are showing true respect. I don't know what this voice is, but this is just what I imagine a baseball commentator to sound like. The true respect between these teams for each other, the true respect they have for the game. You just love to see this type of sportsmanship. There's a lot of pressure here, especially for Triple L. They definitely do want this win, so this pause is kind of throwing a wrench in their momentum. That's one of the things you have to consider when you do the gentleman's agreement and give your opponent some extra time, is that you come off a one fight. You've got that adrenaline, you've got the momentum from your victory, and when you have a really long pause like this, that can really put a damper on your mood, and the blood starts to cool down a little bit. And I wonder if that's going to affect the outcome of this match as we finally do resume the game. Blue team Pushing forward, seems like White Toilet Demon has been replaced by an AI engineer. Upgrade or not, you decide. Sorry, I'm kidding, Toilet Demon. I really didn't mean it. It was mean. Skyborne Rangers forced to move out of their spawn point, and we're gonna see a little ring around the rosy here between these three judgments. First spot down on the Victor Stromstrom. Gunfire already going down. Square Boy, seems like the red ships are trying to run because Square Boy not taking a long time to turn around. Flying Flounder now in position as well. Victor Stromstrom ducking down here. It's going to be dual focus on Square Boy. I don't know if this is great coordination from the red judgments. As Square Boy gonna lose their armor, balloon is down as well, engines are down, gonna have a lot of difficulty getting out of here. Heavy Carronade coming into play. Artemis shots taking down about 60% perma-hull on the Square Boy, hitting the ground. Big chunk of hull armor gonna be gone, and I think that's gonna be a kill potentially. Yeah, definitely. For Lepidoptera, Leviathan, third point on the board. They have the lead. Victor Stromstrom now engaging their guns, but not soon enough. By taking cover there, they just left their ally totally at the mercy of the dual focus Triple L, and now another dual focus on Victor Stromstrom. This is bad news. And I think that's going to be it as well. Square Boy opting to spawn on the opposite side of the map. Skyborne Rangers realizing that this is an unsalvageable fight. So they've given up that engagement. They want a full reset. A little bit of a bungled positioning there, where the Square Boy, you saw to start that fight. The Victor Stromstrom was the first ship receiving fire, and the Square Boy just kind of kept running. It took about 5 seconds for them to realize what was happening and turn around, or I'm really not sure what the decision making there was. But because Victor Stromstrom was taking so much early fire, the Stromstrom was forced to take cover, and then by the time the Square Boy finally turned around, Stromstrom was not in a position to help them. And Lepidoptera was just able to snowball the fight from there. Now, we do, in the initiation of this engagement, and I need to come up with more words to describe certain aspects of this game, we do have both red judgments able to target fire on the Bamboozle Moth. Balloon is down, Bamboozle Moth's moving in close. Looks like they really do want to utilize that heavy carronade. Hopefully they're not going to take too much damage as a result, as the Stromstrom takes down their balloon. Heavy carronade, first heavy carronade clip coming out here. They're not going to be able to take down the Square Boy's balloon. Flying Flounder is doing what best they can to support their ally. But currently, red team is out damaging them. Heavy carronade has not quite proved its usefulness in this fight just yet, but Flying Flounder moving in with the Gatling gun. Blue team has 2 close range weapons apparently. Light flags coming out as the armor is rebuilt. Bamboozle Moth rising up to refocus the Square Boy. And here we go, heavy carronade. If the Flying Flounder needs to stay alive, and if they do, the Square Boy is going to drop right into their grasp. And the Gatling probably going to be able to finish them off. Merc shot first. 2 Merc shots. Armor is down. Balloon is down. Artemis able to finish them off. That's 5-2 for Lepidoptera Leviathan. 3-2 in terms of game count. And they are your Sunday Community Skirmish number 201 champions. Congratulations to them. It's a little bit unfortunate that White Toilet Demon disconnected during that penultimate engagement, but they were back at the end. And Lepidoptera, they earned this one. Nice job, guys.